Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord, everybody. All right. I'm not going to be before you long. Listen, y'all. All right. Giving honor to Bishop. Thank you for this opportunity. Honor to my pastor. Thank you for this opportunity. Let's get right to it. I'm going to come to you briefly from this passage in Proverbs. It's going to be Proverbs 16 and 9. I'm going to read to you the easy-to-read version. It simply says, people can plan what they want to do, but it is the Lord who guides their steps. I'll read that again. People can plan what they want to do, but it is the Lord who guides their steps. I want to speak to you briefly from this thought. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I belong here. All right. So life is a gift. Yes. Life has a purpose. Yes. But life can also be annoying. Absolutely. You see, there are so many aspects that make our day-to-day lives into what we would perceive to be normal. The time we wake up, our morning routine, what we wear each particular day, our commute, when and what we choose to eat, if we eat at all. Okay, Dom? How we steward our time, whether it's our job, entrepreneurship, being a student, or maybe we're retired. Who we share our time with, our devotion time, self-care, which is essential, and of course, time with our children and significant others. I'd be foolish to believe that any of us aimlessly approach every day of our lives without some sort of momentum from the day before, let alone an agenda of what we desire to accomplish. Oh, we love a good plan. After all, if we fail to plan, then we plan to fail, right? You see, there's one thing I want to highlight in this short time together, the power of belonging. Imagine getting into the car and you have a plan in mind of where you need to go. You're coasting down 64, focused until congestion hits, causing you to somehow miss your exit. You take a detour seemingly to end up somewhere that feels like where you were headed, except it's better. You know that one store that you wanted to go to, but the location in the shopping center you actually needed to be at to remember everything else you would have to do for the week? I only planned to run in and grab this, but I needed some groceries, and, oh yeah, I got to make a deposit anyway while I'm out, so I might as well grab dinner since it's already late so I can focus on my homework when I get back to the house. Maybe some of y'all can relate with that. Okay, see, sometimes it blows your mind so much so that you can't even get mad anymore about how you got there. I belong here. You see, the reality is that control is an illusion. As much as we think we've got this thing figured out, we are constantly reminded that it's above us. We get a little consideration in the deal because he loved us first. Nevertheless, our text today is short but impactful. A few key words stood out when reading this translation. Plan, by definition, thank you, Google, is an intention or decision about what one is going to do. Guide, a structure or marking which directs the motion or positioning of something. While the text uses the verb expression of each, you cannot possibly ignore the impact of the noun perspective as well. You see, when Solomon advises that the Lord guides our steps, he is acknowledging the sovereignty of the Father. He, in fact, is the ultimate director of the world. The world is his stage, and we are mere characters. In the words of Bishop Andre Jones, if he were here, he would probably say it like this. The will of God is in motion, and we are featured. God literally influences the course of action that we take with or without our acknowledgement. And how do we know this? Because our plan never ends up exactly the way we saw it. It's the plot twist for me. You see, intention is everything, but the reality is that a yielded life is one absent of control. The only responsibility we have is self-awareness. So when we know who we are and whose we are, we can then live at the highest level, which takes us to the theme of today's message. Where do I belong? Luke 15 introduces us to a parable of a man with a son we've identified as the prodigal son. Prodigal, by definition, means spending money or resources freely and recklessly, wastefully being extravagant. Many of us have been prodigal, but we're not going to stay there today. While this story is too familiar, the point I like to consider today is though he made his plans, fell short of his expectations, and found himself in a completely different lifestyle, he never stopped belonging. Such were most of us. That is until self-awareness kicked in and we realized, yeah, I belong somewhere, but it just ain't here. You see, true belonging, according to Braveheart Education, is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. Authentic, by definition, means of undisputed origin. It's based on facts. It is accurate or reliable. You see, my identity will never be based upon who I am, what I acquire, or what I've done. It's solely founded in where I belong. In other words, we've been trapped long enough. Trapped in our economic status, trapped in societal perception, trapped in racial identity, trapped in our resume or the lack thereof, trapped in relationships, trapped in career choices, trapped in our mind, and some of us are even trapped in our narrative. You see, fear robs us of our authenticity. Thankfully, Proverbs 29 and 25 helps us nicely. Fear can be a trap, but if you trust in the Lord, you will be safe. This isn't the year or the season to settle in any area of our lives. It's time to belong. Own the space that is rightfully yours. Pursue the dream that you're most afraid of failing at. Go after God with everything you have and see how you fall directly into the fullness of his will for your life. You see, I wish I had something deep and profound today, but his message is clear. Planning is cool, but surrender is better. When we yield ourselves exclusively to his guidance, even if we feel like we're entitled to what we want, we find ourselves better off because he refuses to let us settle. There's but one agenda, one destination, and one desire. Belong. Look at your neighbor and say, I belong here. In closing, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I'll say it again. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you're anything like me, I imagine that you're probably tired enough of running, pouring, and doing, but not prospering, not yielding any return, and not being present. So why continue to settle when you're created to belong? I'll say that again. Why continue to settle when you're created to belong? How much more fulfilling would your life become if you walked straight into your rightful place? How many others would be encouraged to yield because of the light of your authenticity? You see, we've compromised a lot, but surrender to the Father's guidance is far more worth it than surrendering to your own. I'd rather take the road less traveled. Our text again. People can plan what they want to do, but it is the Lord who guides their step. Turn to your neighbor for the last time and say, neighbor, I belong here. God bless you. Come on.